morning, beautiful. Welcome to another episode of Morning Musings, where I jump on camera first thing in the morning and just talk about whatever comes to my mind. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of self-awareness. Self-awareness is so crucial and so important in, becoming our best selves and living our best lives. Because if we're not self-aware, if we're not aware of our patterns and behaviors, if we're not aware of our value systems, if we're not aware, if we're not truly connected to ourselves and aware of all things us, then how are we going to become the best versions of ourselves? How are we to implement new strategies? How are we to change old negative patterns and behaviors? How are we to align with our values if we're not even aware of them in the first place? So that is exactly why it is so important to become more self-aware. And the problem with today's society is that most of us live on autopilot. We get up in the morning, we brush our teeth, we shower, we make our coffee, we do all of this on autopilot. Before we know it, we've made it to work or made it to our destination and we can't even remember how we got there. I don't know if that's the case for you, but I know that's the case for me. Sometimes I wonder, how the heck did I even drive my car? I don't even remember. Like it was all a haze, because a lot of times I'm wrapped up in my thoughts and I'm just kind of driving on autopilot and I'm moving around my life and my day on autopilot. And I know many of us do the same. If you can relate, then welcome to the human experience. But the thing is that oftentimes, because we're so used to being on that autopilot mode, we don't take a minute here and there to step back and really assess ourselves to become more aware. And becoming more aware can be tough sometimes, because sometimes we find out things that, are less than ideal, and sometimes we might wish that we didn't become aware of it, because once you become aware of it, it's hard to unsee it or unlearn it. And also you feel a sense of obligation to rectify the situation or the behavior, the thought pattern. Once you've recognized it in the first place, it's hard not to want to fix it or to better yourself. And I mean, that's an amazing thing, in my opinion, because it really forces you to start to become your best self and work towards becoming your best self. But it can be challenging. The other reason why I believe it is so important to be self-aware is to know your values. What values do you stand by in your life? Have you ever sat down and really thought about what your core values are? Core values are things such as companionship, love, community, freedom. So what are the things that you value in life the most? Not what you have in your life, but at a core level, if you really sit down and think about it, what do you value? What would you love most in your life? What means the most to you in life? What would make you feel like you have a complete, full, happy, and meaningful life? I have a whole list of values that one can go through to kind of pick out the ones and siphon through and pick out the ones that really resonate with them. I can provide that later, and I'll probably leave a link below to a PDF copy of that, so that if that's something of interest to you, you can go through it and really determine what your values are, so that you can start to look at different areas of your life so that you can align your life with your values, and that will make you feel a lot more connected. It'll make you feel a lot more happy and content with your life. When you're in line with your values, there's no greater feeling. And the other thing that I was talking about before, about being self-aware, the reason why it is so important is because once we're aware, if we're not aware, we can't fix the issue. But once we are aware, we can start to determine why do we have this pattern of behavior? Why why is it that every time I get in an argument with my spouse, I get really defensive, and even if it's a small argument, I feel like they're abandoning me, right? That can be an example. Well, on a surface level, you can realize that you do that and you're aware of it, but a whole nother level of awareness would be to say, okay, this is something that must be stemmed from something, that level of awareness, knowing that you can change that behavior, and that behavior must have come from somewhere. And once you can figure out where that behavior stemmed from, then you can start to work backwards by removing it. Okay, so maybe it's because you were abandoned by your father. And if you were abandoned by your father, maybe now every time you get into an argument with your significant other, who is also a male in your life, who you love, you might go into some sort of defense mechanism, right? And that could be caused by a traumatic experience of your father abandoning you as a child. Now, those are things that kind of just happen automatically. It's a defense mechanism. It doesn't mean that it's your fault. It's just something that happens. But you can't easily remove that pattern of behavior until you become aware of, one, that it's happening, two, where this pattern of behavior has stemmed from, and then three, really working out how you can start to retrain your brain to not feel that way in those specific situations, okay? Because those are like trigger situations, and it's going to take a little bit to heal, one, and two, retrain your brain so that you don't react in such a way every time that situation occurs. So that is just one example of how being self-aware can really start to benefit your life. Yes, it takes time and it takes work, but it is so worth it, because once you can get that under control, think about that. So if that's your situation, that's one of your problems that you're aware of, and you're able to get to the bottom of it and retrain your brain so that next time you and your spouse get into an argument, you don't freak out and feel like you're being abandoned and blow it way out of proportion. What benefits is that going to have on your relationship? I can imagine it's going to have great benefits to your relationship, and also your self-esteem and your self-confidence, and you're going to feel more in control of your emotions. You're going to feel more in control of yourself and less like you're on autopilot watching yourself from the outside looking in. Instead, you're taking back control of the driver's seat and you're driving your life intentionally. You are behaving and acting and doing and feeling intentionally. So the more self-aware that you are, the more you can get a hang and a grip on your own life, and the more you're going to see your life shift and change for the better. And I need to go to work now, so I need to cut this short. There's so much more I want to talk about in this video and on this topic. That is just scratching the surface and kind of giving you an idea of what I mean by this. But there's so many benefits to being more self-aware. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes energy. Yes, some things can come up that you're not fond of, and it can, it can take a lot of energy out of you. But I'm telling you that becoming self-aware and actually doing something with what you are aware of can change your life for the better. And I hope that you will decide to delve into that world and start to really change and shift how you behave and act and think, because a great, beautiful, brilliant life is waiting on the other side for you. And if you need help with this at all, if you want to ask some questions, don't hesitate at all to contact me directly or comment below. I want to hear from you. I always want to hear from you. Have a beautiful day, beautiful. You deserve it.